All right, how's everybody doing?
Doing
I'm
well.
Cole House. I'm Cole House. We got Joe from NWA Connie Corso sitting in with us tonight, and the lady of the hour, Mindy Patterson, President Cavalry Group.
Yes.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
me. Good evening.
Good evening.
thank you for being here. Thank you for being
Mhm.
here. So, I guess the best place to start, Miss Mindy, is at the beginning. If you could tell us a little bit of background on the Cavalry Group, who you guys are, what you do.
Sure. We are entering into our 16th year of business. The Cavalry Group is a member-based company representing animal owners and animal-related businesses nationwide, protecting their constitutional and private property rights, legally, legislatively, and in the media. And we have members ranging from cattle ranchers to dog breeders, pet industry, deer farmers, you name it. If people raise, breed, and work with animals, we are working to protect their rights to do what they love.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah. I really like that because I was telling Joe that we always hear the other side. The other side makes a lot of noise.
Yep.
And the fact that there's anybody out there that's on our side is news to all of us. You know.
Well, I wish there were more groups, out there working to protect lawful animal owners. Quite honestly, it's a lonely fight, and the shark tank is big. It's pretty brutal, as you well know.
Yeah. So can you give us a little bit of kind of things you guys
Right.
have fought and won and some legislation that you helped get through to protect us?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, because 90% of what we do is pushing back against animal rights driven legislation at the local, state, and federal levels. I am a federal registered lobbyist, and I do lobby on Capitol Hill, but I only lobby for our members. I'm not out there to, lobby for all these other groups and organizations. We're laser focused on animal owners and animal enterprise and our members. So, most of what we do, honestly, is legislative. And in the onslaught of anti-animal ownership and animal-related business legislation it's like drinking from the fire hose. And so one of the things that we have done is show up to the microphone to testify in opposition to these bills. And 6 or 7 years into this, and zigzagging all over the country, and we do engage our members. If a piece of legislation shows up in Arkansas and it's in your jurisdiction and you're a member, I'm going to call you guys and say, we need to have a Zoom meeting. Let's talk about this bill, and we need boots on the ground. And you guys, get out the enforcements. We help everybody write a testimony. We practice giving testimony because, it's a little intimidating of a process if you've ever been in a committee hearing, but it's really important. And it's a struggle for a lot of people who raise, breed, and work with animals to leave their business anyway and drive to the Capitol, which is oftentimes several hours away for most people in the state. So we know it's a huge undertaking for people who raise animals, but it's so important because if the lawmakers aren't hearing from people who raise, breed, and work with animals, they're going to be listening to the wrong people on the
Right.
bill. And the animal rights groups show up in droves. That is for sure. I'm sure you've seen the committee hearings where it's standing room only and it's all animal rights groups. We have got to push back. So over the years, that's what we've been doing. And the frustration level became very high in about 2015 when we were losing most of our battles at the local level with horse-drawn carriage bans and animal exhibitor bans and quite honestly, circus bans and camel rides, elephant rides, pony rides. I mean, it was this accumulation of working animals that were literally under siege by city councils, county commissioners, local political subdivisions that were outright banning these lawful businesses. Why? Just because it didn't align with their ideology. Or oftentimes, these animal rights groups coerce and apply a lot of pressure for them to do their bidding. or they're
Right.
writing a big fat check. So we got really tired of that. So I don't like playing defense. So in 2015, I met with a lawmaker by the name of Brian Spencer, Representative Spencer in Missouri, and we sat down and scratched out a piece of legislation on a napkin in IHOP one day. And I just said, look, I'm really tired of playing defense. Let's go on offense with a piece of legislation. So we came up with this bill and we called it the Working Animal Protection Act. And we made several passes in Missouri trying to get it done. And we were unsuccessful, mainly because, well, politics can be difficult sometimes. But we, in that time, my husband and I moved to Oklahoma, and I introduced the bill here in Oklahoma, and we got it done in one try. And it was awesome. And, we had made tweaks to the language over the years, but basically the bill is only 4 short paragraphs long, which legislators love, by the way. They love the fact it's short and sweet. And it basically says that city councils, county commissions, local political subdivisions can't outright ban a lawful business that utilizes working animals in exhibition, entertainment, education, and transportation, meaning the horse-drawn carriages, and agritourism. So it passed overwhelmingly in Oklahoma and Arkansas, and we got an expanded version of it, which is more of a Small Business Protection Act in Texas. So we are heading into about 6 states in 2026 state legislative session with our bill, and we're really excited. It's a great opportunity, but it protects rodeo, it protects horse-drawn carriages, it protects working dogs. It protects, anybody who raises, breeds, or works with animals that has working animals in those categories can't be banned at the local level. I mean, there's a list that I show in my PowerPoint presentation, and I should have shared it with you guys ahead of time so you could put it up on the screen. But it basically illustrates 78 local jurisdictions in 24 states across the United States that has banned working animals legislatively at the local level. It's insane.
Miss Patterson, when we having this pushback from these extremist groups, is geographically, is it more in the Midwest? What areas of the country do you see most pushback?
Boy, California to Florida. I know, no brainer. Oregon,
I didn't say blue states, but I was just saying blue states. Huh?
Blue states. But you know what? Surprisingly, Florida has passed at the local level 8 bans, local bans on horse-drawn carriages. Surprisingly. Yeah, it's crazy.
But why? What's the problem with the carriages?
Because they believe it's cruel and inhumane for horses to pull a carriage. No difference than they believe it's cruel and inhumane for working dogs to pull. Same thing. These animals are bred to do this. They love to do this. You just know that they do. Mm-hmm. And these animal rights people want us to well, first of all, they're against breeding, period. Yeah, but they're also against these animals. They don't like the idea of them working. They think that's cruel and inhumane. Animal ownership to these people is cruel and inhumane. It's difficult even for me to wrap my head around the fact that they don't want us to even own animals, but they don't. Look, it doesn't make any sense logically. If anybody with common sense, like all of us on this call here, but that is just the reality of what we're up against. But the scary thing is that they have the power to influence lawmakers to go their way. And legislation is ground zero to protect your rights and protect what you love. And that's why I'm always beating the drum about how important it is to get in the battle to protect your livelihood and your passion and your hobby legislatively. Because if you're not paying attention, especially at the local and state level as to what's going on legislatively, I can't tell you how many times some of our members have called us at the office and said, you are not going to believe this, but I'm calling from Lubbock, Texas, of all places, and they passed a mandatory spay-neuter law, or they passed a limit law, and now I have to have a license to just have 4 dogs. What's that? What can you do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we should have shown up months ago to stop it, because now that it's the law, it's difficult to get those undone. We have to stop it before it happens.
I've
So,
heard of a lot of places, like I breed bulldogs, and a lot of I've hear places where if you go to get a C-section, they're going to spay your animal.
oh,
They will. Yeah.
Yeah, and
that
and
too.
if you're not doing that, then they're not doing the other.
Yeah.
Yep. Listen,
Yeah.
the vet community right now is a concern of ours. If you have a good veterinarian who you trust, they are worth their
Oof.
weight in gold. In gold.
Mhm.
And on the legal side, by the way, it's really important that you keep those good veterinarians in your hip pocket, because at the end of the day, if animal control or law enforcement comes around, your best defense is a good veterinarian, honestly, to
Yeah.
say, look, I've been
Mhm.
Cole House's veterinarian for 20 years, and this guy is amazing. He's great. He does everything right. That
Yeah.
carries its weight with animal control or law enforcement. So keep your vet, in good stead with you, and that it really is important. So they do a lot of good work if they're
Yeah.
good vets. If they're not,
Yeah.
like you just mentioned, and there's a lot of those. I mean, I personally have been impacted by bad veterinarians, and we've had some terrible things happen with beloved dogs, and it just makes you scratch your head as to what exactly has happened, and they get away with things that are very sad and unfortunate. So,
Right. Right. Can
Yeah.
I ask something right quick?
sure.
I did want to mention you guys that's in weight pool events sound like they're trying to attack that.
Yeah.
So you better pay attention. I want to define exactly who are the people you are fighting for. You tell me if I'm wrong or right, if I leave somebody out. Is it small family farmers, breeders, zoos, working animals?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right.
Yep.
Okay.
And okay, so what do we do, or what can we do as far as they're banning dog breeds in locations? Like we're going to do a show in February, and one of the first places I looked was in Little Rock, and at the state fairgrounds, and they said there's a bull breed ban. No bull breeds, nothing here at the fairgrounds. And in Arkansas, that's really the only buildings of sufficient size. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But so what? How do we? Have we lost that one already?
Well, if it's a private event, there's really nothing you can do. I mean, if it's a private event and that's the ban that they've put on that event, then there's really nothing that can be done. But if they're trying to legislatively ban certain breeds, then we need to push back hard. And what we have seen is, for lack of better description, almost a profiling that takes place. There's, and
Mm.
I blame it on, and I don't know where you guys stand on the whole rescue world, okay?
I'm
But
gonna
the
iffy on that.
rescues have not done us any favors, because they're always so quick to place these dogs. These people who run most rescues have no experience or scientific understanding or knowledge about dogs or breeds, or whether a dog is a good fit with a family. They just want to get the dog placed in a home, and so they do, quite frankly, the dog a disservice, and they do the families a disservice by putting these dogs. And oftentimes they will be breeds of dogs that are not suitable for a family, and then the next thing you know, there's an injury or worse, and it has built up through the years to really painting an ugly picture with the broad ugly brush for a lot of bully breeds. But it's been unnecessary, because a lot of these rescues just don't understand. So accordingly, my point is that they profile these breeds as saying, oh, well, we need to ban XYZ because it's in the bully family. Well, the bully breed is a very long list,
Yeah.
and I mean, what is it, about 18 breeds of dogs that are classified as under bulldogs? I mean, there's a very long list of dogs. And unless you understand the characteristics and behavioral characteristics of those dogs, as a breeder, I'm sure you guys are very careful about where you place your dogs into the right homes and all of that stuff. And it's just like our dogs with Great Pyrenees. We live on 80 acres. And so, it's appropriate for a Great Pyrenees, but you wouldn't want to place a Great Pyrenees puppy with a family that lives in a, subdivision.
Exactly.
In an apartment. Yeah.
Or an apartment. And that's what ends up happening. And then these dogs end up in a rescue shelter, and it's just a mess. So a lot of bad stuff happens in these rescue incidents, but profiling is something that is happening with a lot of different things, and not just dog breeds, but really everything. And we see it happening with a lot of different dog breeds, from Cane Corso to German Shepherds. We dealt with that most recently in a case that we actually won in Seminole County, Florida, where a family had a very expensive and highly trained German Shepherd dog that protected its family. They had a small child. I believe he was maybe 4 or 5 years old. And they were expecting their nanny to arrive at 9 a.m. that morning. And it wasn't the nanny coming to the door. It was the Amazon delivery person. And the little boy opened the door expecting to see the nanny. And the Amazon delivery person, who, by the way, broke every protocol. If you were to search Amazon protocol for dogs and being on somebody else's private property, this particular Amazon delivery person broke every single rule you can think of. But the German Shepherd guard dog pushed the child out of the way and got in between the Amazon delivery person and the little boy and bit the Amazon person's hand. And so accordingly, it turned into this big lawsuit, and Amazon wasn't the one who was, anyway, it was a very, very concerning case. The county of Seminole County was the one that was wanting to put the dog down immediately without question. So we had to intervene, and it became this case of keeping the dog alive. That's what we were trying to do, in preventing this dog from a death sentence, basically. But they profiled this dog. They said, well, German Shepherds are inherently dangerous. Really? Who told you that? Why would you? So we took a deep dive down this rabbit hole of, as I call it, profiling and breed specific, what do I want to say? Pigeonholing by the general public. And, it was really tense, but we ended up winning. This dog did its job. It did its job that it was trained to do. It protected the family. And by the way, this Amazon delivery person did everything wrong. He was on private property. It's not like the dog was roaming the streets. Oh, and I'm forgetting the most important thing. Florida had just passed a statewide law called the PAM, I believe it was called the PAM Rock Act. I can look that up. But basically, here, let me look this up real quick here. Yeah, it was called the PAM Rock Act. And basically it was because, and it was basically a law to immediately euthanize any dog that bit somebody. But Pam Rock was a mail delivery person, and there was a pack of dogs that attacked her and killed her. Well, that's a little different than an Amazon delivery person being on private property and, breaking protocol. And this dog was protecting its family, on the front porch of their home. That's a huge difference. But this judge was just all in a, quick hurry to euthanize the dog. But our attorneys won this case. It was a huge deal. And, his name was Achilles, and Achilles is alive today and back with his family. The only stipulation that occurred, which I think is important, is that after and this poor dog, by the way, the Animal Control Division in Seminole County treated this dog like trash. They did not treat him well at all. It was disgusting. He was sitting in his own urine and feces in his crate, and pretty much, alone, solitary confinement like setting. And he was losing weight rapidly. He missed his family. He was in there for quite a while, I would say at least a month. And but they were set to euthanize this dog for doing his job. And the animal control division just did not do a great job. And isn't that the irony? The same people that come to your front door to make sure that you're doing a good job as a breeder. Hi, we're here to step in and make sure that you're, doing a good job and that your dogs are in good condition, are the same people that were basically not doing a great job of caring for this dog, Achilles. Anyway, we won this. All this came down in my schedule is always so crazy. This was in June through August, which was when we won the case. So anyway, do you have a place I can share the article here? Do we have like a comment area that I can send this to you? Or
Yeah.
I can just email it to you too.
Yeah. If you send it to me on Facebook Messenger, that's the quickest way to get it up.
Okay, great. I'll get that to you so you can share it with your followers. So that was a big deal, but that's a perfect example of profiling. And it could have been any, we're seeing this all the time with other breeds. Look, you can make a golden retriever mean.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah. Environmental's big with animals.
It is. And so that's what we've learned. But also when it comes to working dogs that love what they do, we've seen this in all working animals. They want to ban the tool. They want to ban, the bucking strap in bucking broncos in the rodeo. They want to ban certain instruments with horse training. They want to ban, I could go on and on and on. We've seen tethering bans. Well, that's, a toe in the door to ban leashes or confinement of any kind. It's crazy to me. We have really got to take back the conversation away from the animal rights groups who know nothing about the care and keeping of animals or breeding animals or any of these things. But unfortunately, too many lawmakers are listening to the wrong people. And people who raise, breed, and work with animals are the experts. They are the experts because you're practicing husbandry every single day, and caring for your animals. And, does that mean that there aren't bad actors out there? Yeah, there are, but we already have. Here's the other thing, and I've got to get this out too. Animal cruelty and abuse is already a felony in all 50 states. So think for a minute about all the laws that are dropped, all the bills, not laws, but bills that are introduced every single state legislative session, in your state and every state across the union, or ordinances that are introduced, or all the bills at the federal level that want to increase care for animals and ensure animal welfare. Well, think about it for a minute. If we already have animal cruelty and abuse that's a felony in all 50 states, why do we need more laws? Let's just enforce the ones we have. Well, I'll tell you why. These animal rights groups raise money. On every campaign. They use these bills as a springboard to smear whoever it is they're going after so that they can raise more money and hire more lobbyists and hire more attorneys to do this, sue and settle and go after people. That's what the animal rights industry has done. And it's a $500 billion, industry globally. It's crazy. This is bad.
Yeah.
So something on your website that I want you to touch on briefly is animal welfare versus animal rights.
Mm-hmm.
I read that and I found it very interesting. If you can speak on that. Absolutely.
Well, animal welfare is making sure that the animals are content and have all of their needs met. Anybody who raises, breeds, and works with animals, it's inherent in what we do every single day to make sure that our animals are fed, have veterinary care, exercise, a good, safe place to sleep. Confinement is important to keep them safe. A lot of animal rights people don't like confinement. They're passing bills to eliminate confinement, which is crazy to me. We confine our animals to keep them protected and safe. If you take that away, You know, how do you keep them safe? So all those basic needs to keep our animals cared for is what animal welfare is all about. And I like the word content because I don't think that, you know, you always hear people say, oh, if our animals are happy. Well, that's an anthropomorphic, you know, human term. But animals, we want to be content. Okay. Animal rights is an ideology where they believe that animals are equal to humans. And all that does is diminish the sanctity of human life, number one. But it also, animals aren't equal to humans. And if we allowed that to happen, that's just going down a major slippery slope constitutionally. But make no mistake, animal rights is a political agenda that has been working for the last 70 years to alter Americans' views about animal use of any kind, from the pet on your lap to the steak on your plate, legislatively, legally. They've been working in our schools and universities, even in our churches, in the grocery store. You know, you can't even go to a Starbucks for a cup of coffee without having the animal rights ideology sneak into your breakfast with, you know, cage-free eggs or whatever it is. You know, it's everywhere, and but it's a political agenda. And what it is doing is tightening the noose on animal use across our country. And it's very dangerous because honestly, it's been putting a lot of farmers and ranchers out of business. It's been putting the pet industry out of business. It's been incremental. Incrementalism is our greatest enemy, truly, because these things, they don't come out and just take these things away from us in one big whack. They do it incrementally so that you think, oh, well, that's not so bad. That's not such a bad law. Yeah, that's reasonable. No. There's a great quote that I'm going to find while we continue to talk here.
Okay.
That just says it all, if you'll indulge me for just a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
But that's really what this is all about, is animal rights versus animal welfare, and the importance of educating our legislators about the difference is critical. We have a pamphlet. Hold on a second.
Yes, ma'am.
We're getting ready to put we took our store down, but we're getting ready to put it back up. And if any of your listeners want any of these, we just charge a nominal fee for a stack of 100. But this is available on our store, when our store will be back up shortly. But it's a pamphlet on animal rights versus animal welfare, know the difference. And it's really a primer for lawmakers, so that you can send it to your state representative, your state senator, your congressman, whoever, even your neighbor. You know, if you know of somebody that needs to be informed about the difference, it's just a nice way to urge them to do more research and get them educated as to the difference between animal rights and animal welfare. But make no mistake, this is the crux of everything here, because a lot of these lawmakers, and have you noticed that the animal rights groups are starting to call themselves animal welfare advocates? Give me a break.
Wordplay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, you're the animal welfare advocate. You're the animal welfare expert. You know, and husbandry is truly in the crosshairs. They're trying to make certain things. You know, we know a lot of breeders that when puppies are born, they remove the dew claws themselves. A lot of veterinarians don't want to fuss with it because it's such a minor thing to do themselves. Breeders have been doing it themselves for so long. Well, now they're trying to pass laws that, no, you can't do that without a veterinarian. Well, what does that do? That makes it more expensive to breed puppies. If you've got to have a veterinarian come and do, you know, minimal things like that, it makes things more expensive, and then it increases the cost of purebred dogs. But that's how the animal rights groups are attacking husbandry, and they're doing it constantly, you know. And I am a big believer in animal husbandry, and I love watching. I go to a lot of seminars and pet breeder seminars, and I'll be sitting at the lunch table with all these breeders, and I just sit and listen. And they talk about how, the newly whelped litter, they may have lost the mother and they're hand feeding the puppies every 2 hours, and how tired they are. And they slept on the floor of the whelping room, to make sure the puppies were okay. Or, the heartache, the love, the care, the dedication that comes with raising animals, breeding animals is major. And I hope that when you hand a puppy over to a customer of yours that is taking one of your puppies, I hope they understand how much blood, sweat, and tears that you've put into that moment. It's a very noble profession, honestly. And I don't think the public has, we've lost our way in this country. The breeders have always been the experts for years, and revered. The breeders have always been the ones who were revered and lauded. And now the animal rights groups have come in and just smeared the breeders to the point where a lot of people have given up. And I'm sure people who have given up their breeding operation and given up. And that's a concern for genetics and all sorts of things that breeders pay so much attention to. And it's heartbreaking. I don't like what's going on for that very reason.
Mrs. Patterson, let me ask you about search and seizure.
Yes.
I was reading that your work is involved in defending against unwarranted search and seizures.
Yes.
Can you give our listeners a real world example of a lawful, law-abiding business or owner who faced an aggressive, unconstitutional attempt to seize their property animals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the cornerstone of why we started in 2010, because we saw it happening a lot. And, before we launched the Cavalry group and before that campaign in Missouri that prompted us starting the Cavalry group, I was on the Missouri Equine Council, and we were always getting the phone call from a horse owner, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, but that's a lot if you think about it, from somebody somewhere out there in the world that animal control or one of the animal rights groups, at the time it was the Humane Society of the United States, that was notorious for this, that come onto somebody's property without warrant. Hello. And the words I never want to hear anybody say is, "Oh, I've got nothing to hide." Sure, come on in. Don't ever do that, ever. If somebody,
say that again.
If don't ever say, "I have nothing to hide. Come on into my kennel. Come onto my property. Come into my living room and have a look around. Look at how great I am." And no, these people are going to find something.
Yeah. They're not there for fun.
If they don't have a warrant, I don't care who they are. You don't let them in your house. You don't let them in your kennel. You don't let them in your driveway. So as being a member of the Cavalry group, we basically provide each member with an emergency phone number that's available to them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we interpose and help walk back those situations where animal control shows up and says, "Hey, we got an anonymous tip from somebody and we want to come in and do a wellness check on your animals." If they don't have a warrant, they don't get to come and see. Even if they're, it's their jurisdiction. If they don't have a warrant, sorry, no.
Man, yeah.
And if they do go get a warrant and come back, then we're there to guide and create parameters and find out what's going on. And oftentimes, our attorneys or staff will make a phone call to animal control and find out what's up. But it's always inevitably the jilted ex-employee or a member or a jilted neighbor or family member or friend or business partner or somebody that you have joint ownership in a dog with. Oh, we've had just
co-owner.
Hey, I've seen it happen across social media. Dog breeders on social media make that call on another breeder in some part of the country.
Yeah, it's nasty. And so that's inevitably these anonymous tips. And so this is the world in which we live today, and they've weaponized animal control against their neighbor, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's created this awful situation where they'll come in and so to pivot back to legislation for a minute, the reason legislation is so important is because in these situations of unlawful search and seizure, listen to this. In Arizona, they tried to pass a bill last year that allowed for confiscation of one's animals without due process or without a warrant. So if you've got a neighbor across the street that's, like a Gladys Kravitz peeking out her curtain. You remember Gladys Kravitz from Bewitched? And it was always peeking out her kitchen window. And if you've got a nosy neighbor and she is making anonymous tips to animal control, it's inevitable that, these animal control is going to show up at your door. So be prepared. The other advice that we have is that you need to secure your perimeter. Get cameras on your property. Make sure that your perimeter is secure. Absolutely. I mean, security cameras nowadays are so affordable. Do yourself a favor and get some security cameras.
Yeah.
So when these things happen, you have record of this, that, you've got law enforcement coming to your door, and always record these conversations. It's your right to do so. I'm not an attorney, but we have attorneys who we work with all over the country. And we have general counsel who works with us in Florida. And we've done webinars for our members about securing the perimeter and how to keep your property safe and what to do and what not to do if law enforcement shows up at your door. But, you've got to have the tools and the understanding of what to do to protect yourself. And if you're licensed and inspected, make sure you videotape your inspections, because at the end of the day, it's your word against the inspectors and whoever the regulatory agency is, whether it's USDA or it's a state agency or local agency for that matter. You want to make sure that you videotape your inspection so that if they write you up for something that wasn't a problem, you have record of it. So you just have to really CYA these days. And it's unfortunate, but that's the world in which we live.
Right.
Yeah.
Cole House, you got something? I'm gonna ask something after you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Let's talk about the funding. You said it's plenty of groups of these extremist groups that have massive funding, have a lot of people behind them. But on the onset of this podcast, I was surprised to know that you guys don't do any marketing. So where does the funding come from for this group?
Memberships.
Okay.
We are funded by memberships.
Okay.
And we get an occasional donation. But we are a member-driven organization. So we are strictly membership-driven. So look, we don't have time. We run lean and mean. We don't have time to do marketing. We don't like to spend money on that kind of thing. And at least not at this point. I mean, it's just, we are so busy. We're up to our eyeballs every single day. And right now we're getting ready for the 2026 state legislative sessions and preparing for that. We've got crazy bills that are already being introduced all over the country. And we reread them all. We actually read the bills, which the lawmakers, I don't think, do. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Cole House put it up. The membership.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Let me blow that up. These glasses don't work that good.
Okay. Well, I'll take our heads off for a second so we can have the whole screen.
Okay. That's okay.
Oh my bad. Hang on.
Yeah, those are annual fees. Basically, your annual it's been a long day. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
You're all right.
You're basically your annual income from selling puppies in your case, or your animal enterprise. So that's how our attorneys set it up for us. Your annual gross sales. Sorry,
Okay.
Right.
So that's how it works. It's kind of a scale like insurance, if you will, but we're not an insurance company, obviously, but that's kind of how it's set up.
Yes, ma'am.
the level of risk kind of thing. But
Right.
look, it's an affordable peace of mind.
Yeah, it is.
So, if you needed help in some way, or you had a bill come to your area that you wanted help with, that's, this is what we do. We fight back legislatively.
Yeah, and I think most dog breeders are going to fall somewhere in this $250 a year.
Yep.
Which is,
Yeah.
that's not.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's gonna be our range right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, for the cost of
whoever's in the next range up, holler at me. Let me know how we do that. You know
right.
So look, we are all in a big battle here, and money is firepower. And if we don't have the firepower to fight back, then you don't have the advocate to be there for you when you need help. So and there are times where something might be out of the scope of membership that you need some legal advice, and that's when our attorney team will discount their hourly rate significantly to assist our members with something that they may need help with. So by being a member, the bucket of benefits is pretty significant. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
And most attorneys, what I learned, being a part of the horse council, when these seizure cases would come up and HSUS would seize animals without a warrant, and then you're left flat-footed without an attorney, you've got to go find an attorney. And that's why we usually got the phone calls, because they'd say, hey, my horses were seized and I can't find an attorney to help me. That's the other thing. You can't just flip open the yellow pages, so to speak, or do a Google search for animal law attorneys, or you're going to end up with an attorney who's an animal rights lunatic. No, seriously, that's
yeah.
So you've got to have an attorney.
We didn't know you guys existed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah.
So you want to make sure you have the proper legal team defending you in these cases, and people who really understand the fight. And it's hard to find attorneys. It's hard to find constitutional attorneys, let alone attorneys that are familiar with the animal rights agenda.
Right.
We've gone to court battling groups like Animal Legal Defense Fund, and have been successful in that, and other groups that are just have very deep pockets, very, very deep pockets. And it's sad because even if you win a case, they come back.
Yeah, we won't say their name either.
Yeah, they never give up. It's crazy. So, this is a big battle that we're in, and it really is a battle of truth, because they're trying to. It's an ideology that makes no sense, really, as we started off this conversation talking about. Because, like you said, what is it they're really after achieving? Well, they don't want animal use of any kind, whether it's a pet ownership, or if it's eating meat. I mean, look at how much money that they're pouring into disparaging, eating meat and becoming a vegan. I mean, it's crazy. All the fake meat that's out there. It's gross.
Yeah.
Okay. So check this out. Ted Nugent is a weird guy, whatever. But he said one thing that made a whole lot of sense. I seen. He said, if I kill a deer, I killed one animal. He said, but if you talk me into be a vegetarian, said they got to kill every animal in however long, so them to not eat their soybeans.
Right.
He said, you tell me who's not like.
It's naive to think that crop farmers aren't killing other animals in the wild, that, to harvest wheat or soy or whatever it is. Yeah, it's ignorant to think that they're not hurting. So here's my quote that I wanted to mention, going back to legislation. And this is a Julius Caesar quote. It says, all bad precedents begin as a justifiable measure. So a lot of these bills that are introduced, a lot of lawmakers think, we don't, the optics or the virtue signaling that comes along with supporting some of these bills. Look, if you look at the bills and how they're sponsored, even in Congress, a lot of Republicans are sponsoring these animal rights driven bills. But, you look like a bad guy if you go against it, So a lot of these people want money and votes. They want to be reelected, and they look like a terrible, puppy killer if they go against a lot of this legislation. It's a heavy lift for lawmakers, but all of us need to work together to make it unsexy to support these terrible, lying, thieving animal rights groups, because they are vilifying every aspect of animal ownership. It's crazy to me. Even people who are growing and raising our food. This is what's going on in our country. And, it keeps me up at night because I know what's going on at the 40,000 foot level with all the policy that's being passed that people aren't paying attention to, that's cutting off water to farmers, that's, limiting land ownership, that's limiting animal ownership, that's telling people that cow flatulence are destroying the planet. Give me a break. But there are, yeah, but it's all virtue signaling, and people are like, "Oh, well, I care about the earth, so we need to pass this bill." No, you're destroying the cattle industry, and who are you kidding? So we really need to all work together to change the narrative and the optics of what is happening in our country to destroy our way of life and what we love. Can you imagine not being able to do what you love?
Yeah.
I know that you both love raising puppies.
Yeah. It'll suck. I have a question for you. You said something about, you knee deep in this thing, and it was something, I'm reading the comments, and they kept saying they don't want you to have animals in the comments. They don't want you to have animals.
Yeah.
So we probably can all agree on that, and maybe banning of some agriculture. But what do you think they would target next?
Rodeo.
Damn. Excuse me.
Boom.
Yep. Well, they've gone after the carriage industry hard, big time.
Right.
And
when you say carriage, you mean like Amish or like horse in downtown? You pay money and they ride you around on a horse.
well, they would love to take the Amish carriages away, but they haven't.
I figured that.
Yet.
Yeah.
But they have been working to ban. There is a global movement to ban horse-drawn carriages, and they've been at this heavily in Chicago. They were banned in 2020 when Lori Lightfoot was mayor, and during COVID, there was a Zoom meeting with 51 city council members on a Zoom call. I was in the queue getting ready to testify, and before anybody had an opportunity to testify, the ban passed. It was a joke. They passed that ban over a Zoom meeting, which should be illegal. Anyway, they worked on that for years, and we showed up to the microphone in Chicago City Council, and we were victorious year after year in defeating that. They've been trying to ban horse-drawn carriages in Central Park in New York City. They've been trying to ban carriages in Savannah, Georgia. They've been most recently trying to ban horse-drawn carriages in Dallas and San Antonio, Texas, of all places. And we have been up to our eyeballs in the last 2.5, 3 years in helping the carriage companies in Texas. But you look, these animal rights people are crazy. And I get to listen to what they have to say and their wild testimonies in these committee hearings. And if you were there with me, you would laugh. And I do, because it's embarrassing. These people don't know the first thing about animals. And in these instances of the carriage bans, they know nothing about carriages. And the people from the animal rights groups that show up to testify, this is how it goes. You're in front of this committee, of the state committee of whatever the committee is. It could be government affairs or the agriculture committee, wherever the bill is in the state house. And the chairman will, welcome you to the microphone, and you'll have the opportunity to give your testimony. And when the animal rights group people speak, all they have is emotion. That's all they have. They have no facts, no science, nothing to back up their claims. Our side brings the veterinarians, we bring the equine experts, in this case of horse-drawn carriages. But it's embarrassing for the other side because I've heard far too many testimonies from mostly women who will say things. I mean, just this comes to mind because it was most recent in San Antonio. And actually, I shouldn't say San Antonio specifically. It was in Austin, Texas, in the state capitol just this last April. This animal rights lady said, I went on a trail ride with my Brownie troop in the 4th grade, and it changed my life. And ever since then, I've just loved horses. And I believe that it's cruel for them to be pulling a carriage. Okay. 4th grade, Brownie troop. Gotcha. Okay. And that makes you an expert, and we should ban the industry because you love horses and you believe in animal abolition.
Right.
And they don't understand that if your animal isn't making a living for you, where does the animal go if you can't feed it anymore? If you can't afford to feed it and it's not earning its keep, so to speak, what happens? It's not pretty. It's not good. So all these things are the reality of showing up to testify for legislation. And, I mock and I make fun, but it's really not funny. I mean, it's sad. These groups have gained such a foothold with lawmakers at the local, state, and federal levels, and they're listening to them. That's why this brochure is so important, because this trifold to educate lawmakers, because if we don't educate these legislators as to the truth, then they're going to listen to the wrong people and make they're the judge, jury, and the executioner on your business and your passion and what you love.
Yeah,
these other groups make noise.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, they'll lay out in front of the road. They'll do anything.
Yep.
It's no different than the social media. They'll cry, whatever they got to do to get in your.
Amen.
Yeah.
And they cry in these committee hearings too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's embarrassing. It's very cringy. But look, this is a steep hill to climb. But that's why I'm so grateful to you for having me on your show, because we want to expand the understanding and knowledge for everybody to know, number one, that they're not alone, and there is somebody out there that's willing to fight with you. And we all need to work together, and we need each other to, fight these battles legislatively.
Yeah.
Ms. Patterson, I do have a question. I mean, I understand that everything is donations. You don't market. But is there an unsung hero? Do we have a politician riding with people like us? Any groups, other groups, or anybody?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Other groups or lawmakers?
Lawmaker, both. Yeah.
Okay. On the lawmaker front, yes. I could go on for hours about different state legislators who are definitely on our side.
Okay.
You have some really good ones. Marcus Richmond in Arkansas.
Yeah.
He has always been fighting for dog breeders. He is the first one to be a champion for agriculture in your state of Arkansas.
Yeah.
Marcus Richmond, he's awesome. And there are others too. You're in a good state, quite frankly. You really are. You're in an excellent state. But I could go state by state and rattle off good state legislators. At the federal level, a true champion for agriculture is Congresswoman Harriet Hageman from Wyoming. She is amazing. She's not even on the agriculture committee. She's out there fighting hard for private property ownership, landowners, agriculture. I mean, she gets it to the core. And there are good people on the House and Senate ag committees, and Congress has some good ones, but we also have some bad ones. And when it comes to party, doesn't matter. There are some crazy people in the Republican Party who are supporting some really bad legislation. Like, do you want me to mention them?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Like John Kennedy from Louisiana. What the heck is he thinking? I mean, he's great on other issues, but I don't know. I've always wondered if somebody had, pictures of him tucked away somewhere to blackmail him, because he is supporting several, pieces of legislation that are animal rights driven. It's like, what are you thinking? So, yeah, there's Republicans and Democrats alike. Nancy Mace from South Carolina. I'm glad she's leaving Congress, but she's running for governor of Georgia. She's an animal rights sympathizer. Pam Bondi came from Florida when they passed Prop 13. Are you familiar with Prop 13 that passed in Florida that eviscerated the greyhound racing industry?
Mm.
No, I didn't know.
2016, yes. Pam Bondi was the attorney general at the time, and now she's our, the attorney general for the Department of Justice for the United States at the federal level. But she's very much an animal rights sympathizer. And so, we have some hurdles to overcome on our side. And,
Are there still dog trucks out there, working ones? I've only ever seen all closed down ones. I've never seen like a.
Say that again. Dog what?
Are there still dog racing tracks out there that are operational?
There are. Texas, and there are other states, I believe. Arizona, I think, that they haven't banned greyhound racing. Kansas is still a strong greyhound racing. But what that ended up doing was, they approached it as a ban on greyhound racing gambling, but it banned greyhound racing. And then the breeders all went out of business. It was really sad.
Yeah. So I got a question.
Yes.
As somebody a personal kind of question, as somebody who's getting ready to host an event where we're going to have a weight pull competition, is there any precautions or anything I should take, things I should be aware of, and also, in the future for other people in my spot?
Always. I don't know what your protocol is in terms of letting people in and taking video, but I mean, do you have a way of making sure that you don't have animal rights people coming in to your event? Do you do any kind of screening? Do you have other people that are keeping an eye on people that are videotaping from their phone? And I just say that because we have members that exhibit animals at state fairs, for example. And PETA is notorious for taking video and then putting it on the internet out of context and, pushing their narrative about how cruel and inhumane this is. Everything in their view is cruel and inhumane. Walking horse industry, anything could be cruel and inhumane. As I said, they're going after rodeo and all of that, and they take everything out of context, everything. So if I were you, I would take special precautions on and having a team of people on the ground at these events that are paying attention to people that are videotaping, or maybe
Karen watch.
Yeah, exactly. Prohibit videotaping altogether. Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And just have your own team do any video. But I would be very careful of that, because that's what goes viral on the internet. And that's what is difficult to undo, if you will, once it gets out there, because with their narrative on you could make anything look cruel and inhumane. And if you take video and out of context and put their narrative to it, it just, it looks bad. From horse racing to dog breeding to horse-drawn carriages to bucking broncos to team penning. I mean, anything could look cruel, and there's been a recent effort to amend the Horse Protection Act, which is a federal law. And it was pushed out there by a association that claims to be representing the horse industry. That's the other thing we should talk about, because not all associations that represent an animal industry is necessarily on our side. You know that, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But the head of the American Horse Council basically admitted that even riding horses is cruel. Wow. So saddling up a horse and riding a horse is cruel. Really? That's what we're up against, that kind of mentality. So anything could be cruel and inhumane if we allow it. So I would be very careful to just monitor closely who you allow, or if you allow at all any videotaping in your event. Not knowing kind of your protocol for people coming into the event and the venue. That
Well,
would
our
be my first
protocol is
concern.
going to be shaped by this conversation in
Yeah.
a large
yeah.
part. Yeah.
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 And you know what? I'll give some more thought to that, and maybe send you an email of some other things to think about. But
Wow, yeah.
I'll give that some thought, and because this happens at even dog shows. I mean, dog shows are under attack too. You know, the animal rights groups don't like dog shows. You know that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, they just they don't like animal ownership.
At all.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you said something, and I'm going to ask you this, and I hope I don't get in trouble.
Not by me.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's pertaining to the area I live in, which is very close to Missouri.
Mhm.
So, and it's and I have to drive up into the woods of Missouri to go get my dog food from the supplies. A lot of
That's a
dog.
beautiful area, by the
Right.
way, to go
Yeah,
through
it
the
is.
mountains of Arkansas and then
Yeah,
cross into Missouri. Oh,
I'm in the
beautiful.
foothills. I'm in the foothills of the Ozarks.
I love that area. Beautiful.
I live in the best area in the country.
Yeah.
He's where he can play on both sides of the line.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I love it.
I am highly blessed and favored.
Yeah.
But-
It's
But
beautiful.
Anyway, and the thing about it is, I live on the Walmart side, so I see the big corporate side.
Mhm.
But I'm in Missouri every day, so I see a whole different side.
Yeah.
But with that being said, when you talk about, I want to do specific, or certain people get targeted in certain areas, because when I'm in Missouri, when you talk about horses, when you talk about carriages, when you talk about dog breeders, agriculture, you think of the Amish.
Right.
Yeah. So do they face a lot of things in certain areas of the country from these people?
Oh, absolutely. They
Mhm.
are vilified also. And that's a tough one, because the Amish are vulnerable because, as you know, they are not on the cutting edge of technology.
That's
And
right. Yeah.
and you know, being up to date on, you know, the laws, you know, they don't go to the Capitol to testify. They don't really know what's going on. They don't believe in having electricity, or so they don't have cameras protecting their property. Yeah, they're definitely in the crosshairs. And when it comes to dog breeding specifically, you know, in the view of the animal rights groups, anybody who breeds dogs, even one dog a year, one litter a year for profit, then you're considered a puppy mill, which I hate
Right.
that term. It's a terrible slur against dog breeders,
Mhm.
and it's a lie, honestly.
And it's retarded. Pardon my
It
language,
is. It
because
is.
there's people that have 2 dogs and don't need to have dogs, and there's people that have 30 dogs and the dogs are in great shape, live in great conditions, and there's
Amen.
the number itself doesn't tell you anything.
Amen. Yeah,
You
the
know?
number of dogs you have is not reflective at all of the level of care. Because a lot of people who have, you know, were you guys at all aware in 2010 when Missouri fell to was victim to Humane Society of the United States and their Puppy Mill Cruelty Prevention Act? Because it was all about that. It was all about you know, the term puppy mill, and it all came out on Twitter when HSUS put a tweet out basically saying that anybody who breeds even one litter of dogs a year is a puppy mill. If you sell for profit, then you're a puppy mill. So it's not about the number of dogs you own. They try to make it like high volume breeder, and a lot of legislation uses that phrase, which we always strike. What's considered a high volume breeder? That's dumb. And like you said, you know, sometimes people have help, and it's not relative at all to the and look, we used to live up down the street from somebody who had one dog, and they did a terrible job of caring for one dog. So it's really unfair to pigeon dog breeders into that whole category of a
Right.
puppy mill for the number of dogs that they own. It's absolutely ludicrous.
And I
So
know people that have 30, but that's their job. And
that's
every
right.
day They're up in the morning, like we go to work. They're out there with their dog, and they're doing it. And
Yep.
you know,
Yeah,
so,
that's half of our membership are dog breeders who are exactly as you describe,
Right.
and they are
yeah.
dedicated full time to caring for their dog kennel and their dogs.
That's right. That's
You know, when we were fighting that campaign in Missouri, we had a campaign office in Chesterfield, Missouri, which is just outside of St. Louis. And we had dog breeders from all over the state that would come to the office to stuff envelopes and make campaign calls and, you know, do what campaigns do. But these dog breeders, salt of the earth, awesome people, would come up to us in the hallway and stop us and say, I put my kids through college being a dog breeder. If I lose the ability to raise dogs, I don't know what I'm going to do. And somebody else would stop us and say, I have been breeding dogs for 35 years. I live 35 miles from the closest town. What am I supposed to do for a living? And,
Yeah.
or somebody, I love what I do. I love it. If this goes through, I won't be able to do what I love. It was heart-wrenching. This is why I'm passionate about this, because you know, I love animals and that's part of it, but I also love the people who do this for a living because they're so, you know, the people who do this for a living are what America's all about.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
Place where you can love something and do it and feed your
Yep.
family.
It's just, it's awesome. And I go to these hearings and I listen to people testify to save their business. And it's very hard to sit through that and listen to people plead with lawmakers who just don't get it. And that's why it's really important. My advice to your listeners tonight, don't wait until there's a piece of legislation to stop to get to know your state representative, your state senator, your congressman, your federal senators. Get to know them. Invite them to your kennel. Invite them to go to their office. Every August is August recess for Congress. Everybody comes home for the month of August. Make an appointment in their local district office to go sit down with them for 20 minutes and tell them what you do for a living. Educate them as to what it is you're passionate about, and what are you doing to protect my business? Right now, this is a 5-page list of federal bills that we are watching in Congress right now. Then we're concerned about some bills that could potentially amend the farm bill. This is what the animal rights groups do. They sneak this, instead of passing something through a committee hearing or a full vote, they sneak it on as an amendment because they can't get it done otherwise. And one of these bills is called the Better Care for Animals Act. It's House Resolution. Hold on, I need my glasses. Forgive me. HR 3112 and Senate Bill 1538. This bill could potentially, it's slated to amend the Farm Bill, okay? And what it wants to do is create a new federal felony for causing what the USDA or the Department of Justice would consider serious harm to an animal under federal law using very, very vague terminology. But the worst part is that the ambiguous language could be weaponized against people who raise, breed, and work with animals, including farmers and ranchers, breeders and exhibitors, based on activist claims undermining lawful animal care practices. So, you know, this is, and to have the Department of Justice partner with the USDA to enforce this, that's really scary and seems very heavy-handed. The other bill is that is also potentially slated to amend the Farm Bill that we're watching very closely is Goldie's Act, and that's HR 349. And basically what we're concerned about this is that it makes paperwork, if you're regulated by USDA, it makes paperwork a direct violation. So direct violations under the Animal Welfare Act at the federal level is typically for animal welfare issues. And an indirect violation has historically been paperwork. Now they want paperwork to be a direct violation. That's crazy. That'll just put tons of people out of business. So this is the stuff that we do. This is what we monitor. You may never need us in an emergency situation, but your membership goes toward the fight. and making
Somebody
sure
that
that
does.
we are safeguarding all of these. And also we put out a weekly alert, sometimes twice a week on, and during the state legislative sessions, we're constantly informing our members as to the bills that have been introduced and, urging people to get to the Capitol to testify. And we help people write testimonies, and we practice and train our members on how to testify before a committee hearing. All of this is so important. And it's the only way to win. And, it's really important to win these things and to show up to the microphone. Otherwise, again, I know I've said this at least 20 times tonight, but we can't allow the other side to speak for us.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I have a question. In the case of things like rodeo and like the Amish and things like that, I understand kind of what's being said or what they like the agenda to be, but how much in the final decisions does the weight, how much weight in the final decision does like cultural significance hold? Because like the rodeo is culturally significant.
Oh, very much so.
The Amish people, that's cultural significance. That's
Mhm.
that's stuff that if it goes away, you know what I mean? So
It depends on the state. It depends on the state, but it does resonate with lawmakers. It does. And I think that's an important, see, now you're getting into the messaging part, which is really important. And that does resonate with people because that gives them reason to side with us because they understand the importance of cultural significance and heritage and history of animal breeds and events. So, yeah, it's very important.
Mrs. Patterson, I would like to know your personal thoughts, your personal experiences, what you see with dog rescues.
I have, boy, that is a loaded question. But I will tell
I
you
like to have the song to play in the arms of the angel.
exactly. Yeah, I watch those those commercials and think, why isn't the cameraman doing something for this poor dog that's shivering in the rain? Look, I think our country has done a decent job of emptying out our shelters and placing owner relinquished dogs, which make up about 3% of the dogs in a shelter rescue are owner relinquished. The balance of those dogs are getting shipped in from other places. It's a total ruse. And these so-called nonprofits are putting breeders out of business.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, vilifying breeding. If I hear somebody else say adopt, don't shop, I'm gonna lose it. And we are going to, where are we going to go to get a purebred dog, purpose-bred dog? And the thing that I have really grown to just love about breeders is that, they are the ones you go to that are the experts, and most breeders I know will say, your family is just not appropriate for our breed,
Yeah.
love you, but you need to, look into maybe something else. You're not going to get that, as I said earlier, you're not going to get that kind of advice at a shelter. They just want to unload whatever's there into the family, which is sad. And it has resulted in terrible stories that, end up on the internet. But yeah, it's just another platform to raise money and vilify dog breeders. It's just awful. And what's really scary is that we've also been participating in trying to stop a lot of these pet sale bans, which aren't really pet sale bans for the pet stores.
Mm-hmm.
They're rescue mandates. They're mandating that retail pet stores sell dogs sourced from rescue shelters. Well, no store operator in their right mind would do that and put their customers at risk. So they end up going out of business where these things have passed. And it's a whole deceptive game that's going on. These animal rights groups are too powerful. So yeah, it's sad, but they're filling up the rescues with dogs from other places, even overseas, as you probably know.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
And And, you know, why would you want to, thinking about it from a common sense, and I know there are positive stories. I realize there's positive experiences for some people who have who've purchased,
Yeah.
and I say that underlined, purchased dogs from rescue shelters.
I was about to- yeah.
You know, unless you rescued it from a flood, you know, rushing river or a burning building. Don't tell me that you rescued your dog, you know. But there are situations that have been positive and
Yes,
where
ma'am.
people have adopted dogs. But for the most part, there are some really terrible stories out there, and they use them to
Yeah. A lot of them are in the shelter for a reason.
exactly.
Temperament issues,
Yeah.
some willy-nilly breeding, maybe. But something you said that you just emphasized is purchase. Adopt or shop, you don't get a free dog.
That's
It
right.
might cost you about a few hundred to get one,
That's
which
right.
it makes me look like they're wholesaling dogs at
And
you know.
and there are shelters and rescues that are breeding.
It's breeders getting into rescues,
Rescue, yeah.
which is odd to me. I mean, I know
is.
everybody has a noble cause, but man, I'm careful about. We might get a dog back. Something can happen to somebody's life, you know. So my space is reserved if I ever get a dog back. So it's just, I mean, and I know,
Good breeders all do that. All breeders
Yeah.
do that we know. They always
Yeah.
say, look, if something happens and you don't want this dog anymore, I don't care how old it is, bring it back to me.
right,
That's
We've all
what
taken
that's
dogs
what
back, yeah.
they do. Yes.
right,
So I don't know, you guys. It's just been, we have a steep hill to climb.
yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if you didn't say something about the horses, because I know we got some horse breeders in here.
Yeah,
What are they facing?
copy paste what we just
Okay.
talked about with the
That's
horse
right.
rescues.
Mhm.
You know, I think it's just cruel and inhumane to have these horses live out the rest of their life in a shelter. How sad, you know?
Yeah.
Is that me or is that you guys? I'm hearing music of some kind.
Yeah, it's not me.
Anyway, yeah. And you never know what you're going to get. I mean, you know, a lot of horses have health issues, or they could be rank horses that just, you know, killed somebody and they're, you know, standing in a rescue and somebody, you know, purchases it from a shelter. Is that me? I don't think it's me.
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Okay, yeah, I had my microphone down. Okay, yeah,
Anyway.
so yeah, you go ahead.
So yeah, the shelter rescues and the horse rescues are really upside down, and they have a tough time caring for what they have. You know, they're always raising money. So it's a bad deal.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Any questions for the audience? We waiting on Cole House to get back. I think I've asked all I needed to. Let me just make sure. Let me look at my notes. What about deceptive legislation? You kind of already covered that.
Oh, there's a lot of deceptive legislation. Nothing ever does what they say the legislation is going to do, you
Right.
know, ever.
Right. Well, so I say you're a fighter. I say you're a fighter, young lady. Have you ever been in a situation where you might have took a loss and it taught the Cavalry group we might have to move a different way on this or that?
Definitely. Yeah, it hurts. It hurts hard, you know, when we are not able to kill a bill, or you know, it's personal, honestly, because it impacts everybody's way of life. But yeah, we pivot, and I think what I've gained through the years of doing this are relationships with lawmakers and clinging to the good ones to help us. And that's the key to lobbying. That's the key to the legislative actions that we're involved with. We have good relationships with key lawmakers all over the country, and the state house, and definitely on Capitol Hill and Congress. It is a constant flow of information and monitoring and communication with lawmakers that are kind of the watchdog. But, you know, have we lost some bills that have hurt? Definitely. And that's what motivates us to go on offense. I'm a big believer in going on offense. I don't like playing defense. I do not. It just doesn't seem to go well. And so that's why I urge everybody, if you have an idea for a bill, you know, call us. You know, we're always thinking about legislation and thinking of ways to craft legislation to further protect animal owners and animal related businesses. You know, one of the things that I would love to see happen that hasn't, since we were just talking about rescues, they should be regulated just like breeders. You know, they're talking about the pet sale bans. Why does it make sense to, you know, ban the regulated breeders that have oversight, usually at both state and federal level, but they're opening the door and just willy-nilly for rescues and shelters to sell puppies and kittens in pet stores? They have no oversight whatsoever. How does that make any sense? In certain states, they do. Missouri has oversight at the state level, and there's a handful of states that do. But overall, I mean, at the federal level, there's no regulation by USDA on shelters and rescues.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that. So
Are shelters and rescues 501(c)s?
yes, mostly. Yeah. Nonprofits, but look at the money they're raking in. I mean, that's really the sad part about these nonprofits, because they just are all about making a profit.
Yeah. And dog food they get.
Exactly. And you know what? These NGOs, non-governmental organizations that make up all the animal rights groups, those guys are nonprofits. But look how, I mean, the president of ASPCA, his yearly salary is $650,000 a year.
Wow.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Insane.
Not for profit. That's not for profit.
Yeah. But we're a nonprofit. So.
Yeah. Hey, Colehouse, do you
Yeah.
see Charles Martin's comment right there?
I was going to ask that.
Okay.
We got a comment in the chat says, "Does your group work with AKC to fight animal legislation?" And I'll just open that and say, or any like breed clubs or anything like that.
Yes, we have worked with AKC. We usually show up with them to fight the pet sale bans and terrible legislation that wants to shut down breeders and hobby breeders. That's the other thing. Since Charles is mentioning AKC, there's a lot of hobby breeders out there that have thought, yeah, but we only have a handful of dogs. You know, we're not the large scale breeders like commercial breeders. And they have felt there's sort of been this sentiment that, well, we're not a commercial breeder, so we're safe. Well, those days are gone. I mean, they are coming after the hobby breeders too. It doesn't matter. Again, if you have one litter a year, you may just have, you know, 2 breeding females, you know, you are in the crosshairs. And there is a bill, and I hate to even mention it because I don't have the details in front of me, but I was just made aware of a bill that's just been newly introduced in Ohio. I don't know if you have a lot of followers in Ohio, but
We do.
there's if you'll wait a minute, I can look it up.
Next week.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Stand by. Let me look this up real quick. I'm getting ready to push out a whole campaign to oppose this legislation. Ohio they already passed a terrible bill in 2016, or I'm sorry, 2018, and now they're coming back. And what it is really tightening the noose even on hobby breeders. Okay, here it is. Actually, hold on a second. If you don't mind, how much time do we have? Do we have a little bit of time?
Much as you need.
Okay. I'm sorry. Let me just see if I can pull this up real quick.
Yes,
for
ma'am.
you.
Take your time.
Because this is important, and this is really what we do. This is a good example of why it's important to watch legislation. And I wrote,
or be a Cavalry group member and let you guys watch it.
And that too. Yes. See, I'm a terrible marketing person. Thank you.
We
Look,
got,
I'm okay at it.
Yeah, yeah.
No, we
Yeah.
are. Okay, here it is.
Hey, y'all make sure to give Sykes Pups a like and a follow if you're watching from my channel. Give this brother a like and a follow. And make sure y'all check out the web. Let me get her website and let me put it in the chat. Cavalry Group.
Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, so here's my Ohio bill analysis. It's Ohio Senate Bill 232, and it's literally a direct attack on all responsible dog breeders across the state. It's actually pretty outrageous, but here's the long and short of it. And it's a serious threat, not just to commercial dog breeders, but also hobby breeders and preservation breeders. So
that's one that we haven't mentioned, but that's big.
Yes, it is big and very concerning. You know, that's one of the things that really breaks my heart, because I know dog breeders work so hard to preserve a lot of these rare breeds, and they're falling away all the time because of a lot of these laws. People give up. They're like, you know, I don't want to deal with the government anymore. And it's all because we're not winning against a lot of these terrible, terrible laws. So, let's see, where did my notes go? Yeah, so basically, it's just increasing all the regulations on, gosh darn it, where did it go?
For those American Bulldog, no, we hadn't asked about that yet, but I will ask her.
Right.
Sorry, hold on. I'm finding it here. I wrote a long diatribe about this bill, and I'm trying to just get to the nitty gritty. Okay, here it is. What the current law requires in Ohio under existing law is 6 or more breeding females. And if you sell 5 or more adult dogs or puppies to brokers or pet stores, or you sell 40 or more puppies to the public. But SB 232 effectively redefines high volume breeder to mean any breeder with 6 or more breeding females who sells even 1 puppy a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So it sweeps thousands of small hobby breeders, you know, and basically all responsible breeders into the same category as a large scale commercial facility. So even if you just sell 1 puppy a year, you're now considered a commercial breeder and have to be licensed accordingly. And it forces small family breeders into an industrial level type regulatory framework never intended for smaller scale breeders ever.
And that's 6 females and 1 puppy?
Yes. And it basically
5 females is the limit.
Well, it weaponizes the term high volume breeder too. So the media will just eat that up, and the activists will routinely equate that to, you know, the term that I hate, which is puppy mill. Yeah. And it creates a reputational damage for regulatory burdens and high risk harassment for law abiding breeders. That's the craziness of all of this. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of particulars to this, which I'm going to be pushing out in a campaign in the next, actually, I was planning to put it together tomorrow, and I'm more than happy to outline all that and send you guys a link so you can put it in the comments for your followers and everything. But yeah, there's more to it than that. But basically, it's all this narrative of high volume breeder and puppy mill, but they're capturing and sweeping even the smaller kennels into this narrative. And Ohio's already gone through this just a few years ago. And it's really, in fact, the bill that passed in 2018, if I recall, they were wanting to require a bond, like a $50,000 bond, in order for you to have your breeder's license in the state of, who does that? Nobody has to have a bond for anything unless they consider you a criminal. So
Right.
they criminalize dog breeders right off the bat.
Mhm.
It's insane. It shouldn't be so hard to, have a business. They make it
Right.
impossible for dog breeders, which is a legitimate business, to operate their business.
Well,
Yeah, and the,
they want us all bagging groceries at Walmart.
yeah,
Even if you
that's
don't
right.
work there, you bag groceries.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's right.
the messaging makes people feel so bad. Are you buying from a breeder? You and it, you
Yeah,
better not say something on social media. It's like you slap your mama
right.
or something like that. Yeah, it's
Meanwhile,
crazy.
you're a great person if you got your dog from a rescue.
I've had a person, because I have dachshunds too. Dude said that his family in California bought a puppy, and they told everybody on the family where they rescued it. They didn't want to even cop to having spent money on a dog.
Yep.
Crazy. Yeah.
It is crazy, but that's an example of what we're up against.
Mhm.
And between now and mid-January, or actually mid-February, we're going to be seeing all these bills introduced all across the country. And there's not a lot of organizations out there. I mean, AKC, and they do a great job in their government affairs division. AKC does have a good watchdog, in following a lot of these bills. So, but aside from AKC, who else is out there? I mean, we're not just watching dog breeders; we're watching everybody.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Across the board.
across
Yeah.
the board. It's a
Yeah.
huge undertaking. Okay, so I found some more notes on that Ohio bill. Basically, it triggers mandatory licensing under Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 956. So specific floor space requirements, solid flooring standards, temperature and climate control, outdoor access requirements, drainage, sanitation, exercise plans, which I've never understood how they can include that, because who's going to enforce that? How can you enforce exercise? For small hobby and home breeders, under this bill, you would have to have a full commercial license, facility standards designed for larger operations, annual state inspections, unannounced inspections, potential unannounced inspections, record keeping, fees, compliance requirements that are far beyond what any small breeder should have to meet.
Yeah.
Here's the nitty gritty. Current law defines a high volume breeder as actual sales volume, 40 plus puppies a year, 5 plus animals sold. And then 232, as I said, nails it down to 1 puppy a year and massively expands who's regulated, mislabeling small and responsible breeders as high volume. So that's really the crux of all of this. So I guess I'm repeating myself, but
Or you
it's
build a $100,000 facility at your place.
right.
Wow.
Nobody's going to do that. It's dumb. And Ohio already has very strict standards, very, very strict standards and regulations. But this is why I say they tighten the noose. It's all incremental. They've already passed a law. Why are we passing another law just a few years later? But they
Yeah.
just keep coming back. And the thing is, it's all animal rights driven. All of this. There's no professional dog breeder that is coming out there and saying, hey, you know what, Ohio legislature, we need to increase our standards for dog breeders in the state of Ohio. It's always pushed by animal rights people. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where does oh God, here go another one. I'm sorry, you on the NWA show, but how has President Trump, what do you think he feel about your plight and people like us, agriculture, animals, and things like that?
That is a very important question. I have been trying to get a meeting with Secretary Rollins since she was confirmed in February. I know that Trump, I think he is just drinking from the fire hose with everything going on right now. There's a lot to fix.
Uh-huh.
But when it comes to USDA, I'm hopeful that some changes are coming. When I have an opportunity to have that meeting, I intend fully to bring some of our key members to Washington, D.C. to sit down with her if we're able to make that happen, to discuss changes that need to take place. I think, to answer your question, I know that he values farmers and ranchers greatly, and animal related businesses. I mean, what you do is the cornerstone of our country, honestly. Anything related to agriculture or raising animals. I know that if he had the opportunity to discuss all these issues with us, I know he would be 100% with us. But right now, there's a lot to fix. And I think that, we're just, it's not that we're not important enough, but we're just down the totem pole in priority right now. And
Yeah.
I'm one of those people, I never give up, and I will get that meeting, and we will make some changes come about. And, I spend a lot of time in Washington, D.C., so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to bring some changes to USDA that are long overdue.
Excellent.
The Animal Care Division that is in charge of enforcing the Animal Welfare Act and the Horse Protection Act has been a division where animal rights people have infiltrated. And so accordingly, the agency has been weaponized. And we have a lot of members who unfortunately have relinquished their USDA licenses because they don't want to deal with the overreach. It all depends on who your inspector is. Some of our members love their inspectors and they think, oh, they're great, they're super fair, until their inspector is moved or quits and they get a new inspector, and their new inspector is, one of those crazy people that want to regulate people out of business. And it's happened a lot. So, yeah, it's a moving target, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to make some of those changes come.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, it did. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. You got anything else, Joe?
I think I'm done. Let me ask one more for Furza American Bulldogs.
The chicken question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
He
back.
says, have you guys touched, or you gonna pull it up?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Have you guys touched on how hard it is to getting to keep file for people in California?
Oh,
We
boy.
mentioned California at the slide. Everybody almost slumped out the chair. No, I was kidding.
Let me tell you something. To your member in California, my heart goes out to you, because they're trying to ban roosters. And we talk about profiling. It's like, oh, well, if you have a rooster, then you must be a cockfighter. That's what's going on.
Pit bulls too.
Pit bulls too.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's why, let's talk about the federal bill that we're also fighting, called the Fight Act. I think I had sent that to you. Did I not? Cole House? I think we talked about it when we talked on the phone.
Yeah.
So the Fight Act, which FIGHT is an acronym that stands for Fighting Inhumane Gambling and High Risk Trafficking Act. And it's this is at the federal level in Congress. It's HR 3946, Senate Bill 1454. It's gaining co-sponsors like crazy, which is very concerning. But what this does, expands federal enforcement powers related to animal fighting, including surveillance, investigation, and prosecution authority. And we oppose it because while it's positioned as anti-cruelty, it opens the door to targeting law-abiding poultry breeders and rural animal owners, while expanding government overreach under the guise of fighting crime. And that's where a lot of this profiling comes into play.
Yeah, that search and seizure we talked about.
Yes. And so if you own a bully breed of any kind, they're going to pigeonhole you as a dog fighter. Or if you own, as your, guy that just wrote in, if you have game fowl, a lot of people raise game fowl for sale.
Yeah.
You talk about genetic, and breed, keeping certain breeds alive. There's a lot of game fowl breeders out there that breed birds that are just passionate about them. And, well, you must be a cockfighter. So
well, the same with the pit bull. Yes, ma'am. The same with the pit bulls that they using to do hog hunting now. Now, when you said surveillance, what did you mean? How far are they going with the surveillance on this?
Drones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, ma'am.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a couple jurisdictions in California that tried to ban ownership of roosters, which is just crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
I
Wow.
have chickens. I have chickens.
Right.
So, if I have a rooster, which I don't right now, but if I did, that's just natural, farm animal husbandry to have a
Yeah.
rooster with a bunch of hens.
And preservation breeding.
Preservation
Yeah.
breeding. Exactly. So look, agriculture is in the crosshairs, animal husbandry is in the crosshairs. The presumption of innocence is in the crosshairs.
Wait.
With a lot of these regulatory agencies, you're guilty before you have to prove your innocence.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Mm.
we see it all, and it's just really sad that it's come down to that. And I'm hoping this current administration will bring changes to all of that lawfare and bring back the presumption of innocence and all these things. But we've got a long way to go. It's, again, it's all been incremental, but it's been happening for the last 20 plus years that all of these things have changed, and just all the walls are closing in on people who raise, breed, and work with animals. And it's sad because it really boils down to a lot of these things are the tip of the sword for destroying our food producers. So it equals orchestration of a famine. I mean, not to sound dramatic and tinfoil hat, but that's all roads lead to our food producers. And if they're banning roosters, that's a little creepy. I don't know. It's all they're creating this scenario where it's all like everybody's criminalized. Okay. And like I said earlier, look, yeah, there's some bad actors, but we already have laws on the books to enforce animal cruelty and abuse. Why do we need all these other laws? We don't. Let's enforce the ones we have and just move along, because most people are doing it right. That's what we have found, is that most people are not doing nefarious things.
Right.
So,
That's right. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Rooster
have
ban,
I?
huh?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I hope I haven't overwhelmed you.
No.
No,
It's good.
yeah, it was very good, and I'm so glad to be a part of this panel. But it is kind of sad, some of the things they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is
Yeah.
sad. And we're very passionate about all of this. And it can be a lonely fight sometimes. That's why we appreciate, people like you and having me on your show and giving of your time and spreading the word and being so generous and promoting us this evening. We really appreciate that. So thank you.
Yeah, I would actually like to do it again. Give it 6 months or so and see what else you got to tell us about. You know?
Oh, in 6 months, we will have a lot to talk about. And we may need to, I'll keep you posted. If I may, I'd like to put you on our mailing list.
Absolutely.
Please,
And
yeah.
keep you apprised on the legislation stuff. But let's all stay in touch, because when the legislative session kicks in, and as the second half of the 119th Congress moves along, we're going to have some things to talk about. And we'll probably have some things that we may need your help to reach out to your listeners to say, hey, we need everybody to sign on, send letters to your congressman or send letters to your state senator, Ohio or Arkansas or wherever a bill is that is alarming that we may need help on. So we may need your reinforcements to help us get the word out. It really is exciting when we have the opportunity to expand our army and get the word out because that's really what it's about. If you're a lawmaker and and this happens a lot, we'll have certain campaigns and we'll put out an email campaign, and I'll go to testify in person at a state capitol, and some lawmaker on the committee will pull me aside after the hearing and he'll say, how did you guys get 4,000 emails to my email box on this whole issue? How did you do that? But that's what it takes. We want to flood a tsunami of responses to these lawmakers, and they'll go, whoa, you know, because they usually get that from PETA or HSUS, but when they get it from the other side, from our side, they're like, okay, we hear
Yeah.
you. You know, that's what we want.
Yeah. That's what we want.
And that's when we win.
Yeah.
Yeah. However we can help, I'm down.
I'm
Great.
with it.
You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you,
Yes.
Miss Mindy.
Yeah.
You too.
Like
Well,
that.
let's stay in touch. I look forward.
Absolutely.
Likewise. Yeah.
Absolutely. We appreciate your time. And like I said, we'll look forward to doing it again and hearing from you. And yeah, absolutely.
That sounds good. If you would send me an email or text, since we've been texting back and forth, shoot me both of your email addresses so I've got that, and I'll put you on our mailing list.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and put this screen up one more time, how to be a member of the Cavalry group.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm going to kind of leave that up there as we sign off for people to get a good look at it. And hopefully
And if anybody has questions, just call our office. We're happy to answer any questions.
Yes, ma'am. All right, Miss Mindy. Thank you.
Sounds good, you guys. Thanks again. Talk to you soon. Thank
All
you.
right. Nice to meet you. All right.
You bet.